A man may labor and toil to attain a certain kind of leisure in retirement, and then find that after all, he yearns for the old busy days and the old occupations he had thought himself so glad to leave. I had already begun to miss the daily toil of my previous employment when tout à coup I was flung back into the midst of the most perversely fascinating work that there is in the world, the study of human nature. A journal came into my possession, in which a murderer had taken the trouble to record for posterity the thoughts that had accompanied a crime most dastardly. Rarely have I come across such bitterness, such envy and contempt of others, such haughtiness misplaced. Our village, King's Abbot, is, I imagine, very much like any other English village. A chilly, medieval church stands at the top of a single street of stone-built cottages. At the bottom of the street, a bridge crosses a stream where the snotty-nosed offspring of the poor perfect the most advanced skill they will ever possess. Although to the casual observer, King's Abbot is a friendly place, everything is not as it seems. Just scratch the surface, and you will find more jealousies and rivalries than ancient Rome.
Sorry to trouble you, Doctor.
Parker!
I'm calling next door. Mr. Poirot's taken to the factory. There's no...
My little book is about the murder of Roger Ackroyd, the events leading up to it, the subsequent numbskull investigation, and the final revelation, to you alone, dear reader, of the guilty party.
Hello?
Now I give up on you. You shall torment me no longer. I will kill you! Sacre! My dear doctor, I beg of you 1,000 pardons. But these vegetable marrows, they have driven me to the edges of barbarity. Please to forgive me. I am ashamed. I prostrate myself.
What's the trouble, Poirot?
Oh, you know, Doctor, it is my desire to grow a vegetable marrow of the proportions gigantesque. And you have seen how I nurse her. Each day I give to her water. Each day I weed around her with my very best tweezers. Does she appreciate this cosseting? No. She grows to the size that is merely conventional. Then she rests upon her laurels.
You mustn't upset yourself, Poirot.
No, you are correct. But you can figure it for yourself, James. When one retires, one hurls oneself into new pursuits. Oh, pardon, Monsieur Parker. What can I do for you?
I've come to take you to the factory, sir.
Our only captain of industry is the Bulgarian, Mr. Roger Ackroyd. The factory from which Ackroyd's ill-gotten wealth emanates encapsulates the life we lead here. Ferment and turmoil.
You got a penny, Poirot?
Wait.
Thank you. Show Monsieur Poirot what your assing can do, Ted.
It is here that he lines his pockets by combining unlikely chemicals to make unnecessary products, while befouling the very air we breathe. He likes to think of himself as a scientist.
I'm afraid the noise was a bit too much for you, Poirot.
Not at all. I envy you, mon ami. Who would have thought those experiments at the back of your little shop would have led to this, eh? Your country house but a mile or two away, and yet here we have the challenges and triumphs of great industry.
I'm eternally grateful to you for that first loan, Poirot.
Oh.
And you can't say you're not without your own triumphs. And now you've got your reward, the peace and quiet of the country. Your garden.
Excuse me, Miss Ackroyd.
What is it, Raymond?
Mr. Peyton is here, sir.
Mr. Peyton.
Your stepson, sir.
I know who Mr. Peyton is. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Let him in. Isaac, I can't stand that.
Eh bien, now I must return to King's Abbot. Thank you very much, my friend, for showing to me your factory magnifique.
I can't understand why you haven't been here before. You've been here nearly a year now. But all in all, this has been a good week for me.
Oh.
Read your newspaper on Saturday morning, Poirot, under forthcoming marriages.
You mean your stepson and Mademoiselle Flora? Please to accept my congratulations.
Ah, Ralph, my dear boy, you remember Monsieur Poirot?
Yes, of course. How are you, Mr. Poirot?
I am well, thank you. I regret I am on the point of departure.
I'll get Parker to run you home. See to it, Raymond, will you?
Merci. Au revoir.
Goodbye.
What are you doing here?
With his ill-gotten gains, Ackroyd has built himself a truly ostentatious house, spending a fortune on architects and surveyors' fees, no doubt. He lives there with the former wife of his deceased brother, Mrs. Vera Ackroyd, and her daughter, Flora, vultures eagerly awaiting his demise.
Shall I pour, Mrs. Ackroyd?
Yes. Oh, tea, wonderful. Hello, Ursula.
Shall I pour for you too, Miss Flora?
Yes, thank you.
Isn't this exciting?
Tea?
No, you goose, the forthcoming announcement. And not before it's time, either.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll get a cloth.
I really don't know where Roger finds these girls. Have you spoken to Ralph?
No, Mummy. He's in London.
You'd think he might telephone on the occasion of his engagement.
I came down last night. I'm staying at the White Hart. Look, Father.
What's wrong with Fernley Park all of a sudden?
Well, there's nothing wrong with Fernley Park. Look, I heard you were going to announce the engagement.
Flora's all for it.
Well, yes, perhaps she is.
You've been putting it off and putting it off for 3 months now, nearly.
Well, I've been trying to find a job, Father.
I always told your late mother that I would look after you as if you were my own son.
I know, but...
No buts. Wait. Didn't I say I did not want to be disturbed?
Mrs. Ferrers is on the telephone, sir.
Oh. Hello?
Roger. It's Dottie. I've got to see you. There's something I've got to tell you.
I'll try to come round late this afternoon. All right, I'll definitely come round late this afternoon. I'll be there.
The highly strung and unpredictable Dorothy Ferrars is something of an enigma to the villagers. She lives alone in considerable comfort, thanks to the wealth she inherited from her late husband, a sot who died in suspicious circumstances last year.
Not Shepherd. Oh. In 10 minutes.
Who was that?
Inspector Davis.
Now, tell me, Mary, my girl, why'd you come to wake us so early?
Friday was her morning to go riding. She liked to be out of the house before 6 o'clock.
All right, Mary, thank you. Go and get yourself a cup of tea, eh?
Veronal.
You think it's suicide?
Asked me after the inquest.
It's almost 2 years since her husband died, isn't it?
Almost exactly. Did you find a note?
Not yet.
Shepherd, I want to talk to you.
You've heard about Mrs. Ferrers?
Yes, I only saw her yesterday afternoon. Come to Fernley Park tonight, 7:30.
I've been thinking about Dottie Ferrers.
No.
She must have taken the Veronal on purpose. Remorse.
Remorse?
You never would listen to me last year when I told you how she'd poisoned that awful husband of hers. This proves it. Oh, hello. Please do come in.
Thank you.
We have a visitor, James.
Oh, pardon, Doctor, you're at your luncheon.
No, we've just finished.
Ackroyd's come round with a little job for you.
Oui, ma pendule de voyage.
Pendule. Ah, carriage clock.
How say you, James? Perhaps I have overwhelmed her?
No, looks as if she just needs a good clean.
Ah,
I'll do what I can with it.
it is good, I think, to have the hobby, no?
Well, you've got your garden, Poirot?
Yes.
Morning.
Just a little more time. You've got to be patient.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
My dear girl, it's quite on the cards the old fellow will cut me off with a shilling.
Of course he won't.
He's been pretty fed up with me the last few years. A little more would do it. And we need the dibs. I'll be a very rich man when the old fellow pops off, so we don't want him to go altering his will.
Then why are you staying here, not at Fernley Park?
Look, leave this to me. Don't worry.
Why? It's all very well for you.
You'll feel more comfortable in a day or two, I'm sure.
Thank you, Doctor.
James, Oh, I am sorry.
Goodbye.
He wasn't on your panel.
No, my dear sister, cash.
I saw something quite peculiar just now.
Really?
First of all, Ralph Peyton is here and staying at the White Hart.
Staying there?
Staying there. And he was talking to a girl. I couldn't quite see who she was. Presumably it was Flora. But that doesn't make any sense. Mind you, makes even less sense if it wasn't.
There is evil in this village, Poirot. Downright evil.
Well, tell me what has happened, mon ami.
You didn't know Ashley Ferrers, did you?
No. No, I believe that he had died before I arrived here.
Yes, I thought so. After he died, there were all sorts of rumors flying about.
Well, this sometimes happens in a small town.
Anyway, the coroner said gastritis. exacerbated by acute alcoholism, then peritonitis, and that was that. Until yesterday. Yesterday I found out he was poisoned.
Poison?
Look, I might as well tell you this, Poirot. I've been, well, in love with Dorothy Ferris for years. She telephoned me yesterday, very upset, wanted to see me. She broke down completely. She told me everything. Her hatred of that brute of a husband, her growing feelings for me, and the dreadful means she'd taken to poison. Murder. Cold-blooded murder.
I see.
The terrible thing is, she must have seen the shock in my face. I mean, I couldn't disguise it. I drove her to suicide.
But it was reported that her death was accidental. You must not blame yourself, mon ami.
I know, but she also told me something else. It seemed that there was one person who'd known about the murder all along and was blackmailing her for huge sums.
And do you know who was this person?
She wouldn't tell me his name. As a matter of fact, she didn't even say it was a man, but, well, they're not going to get away with it.
You intend to hunt down this blackmailer?
If only Dottie had left a note, she might have given a name.
Roger, you must be careful.
Thank you, Ursula.
Ah, Shepard. Good evening.
Good evening. Evening, Poirot.
Good evening, James.
I'll just see Monsieur Poirot out. Go on into the sitting room, will you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Monsieur Parker.
Ah,
Hello, Dr. Shepherd. I didn't know you were coming this evening. You know, you've got to congratulate me.
indeed.
Look, I'm going to marry Ralph.
I know you'll both be very happy, Flora.
Oh, we've been engaged for 3 months now, but it's going to be announced officially tomorrow.
Why, Dr. Shepherd.
Good evening, Mrs. Ackroyd.
Is it true about poor Mrs. Ferris?
She died last night, yes.
Did she... Was it suicide?
We don't know yet.
Poor woman.
Oh, well. Life must go on, I suppose.
I wish you'd tell me about these antique things, Dr. Shepherd. I'm sure you know what they all are.
Well, just because I'm an antique myself.
Ah, Shepard. There you are. Look, you're staying to dinner, aren't you? We can talk later?
Fernley Park?
Is Monsieur Roger Ackroyd available?
No, he's at dinner at the moment, Mr. Poirot.
At dinner?
Yes.
Could I leave a message for him to call me back? I'm at my cottage.
I'll ask him to call you.
And Monsieur Parker, will you be sure to give him the message now?
Certainly, sir.
So I said, just because you're breaking eggs, it doesn't mean that you're making an omelette.
My late husband detested omelettes.
Mr. Poirot telephoned, sir. I told him you were at dinner.
Thank you, Parker. I'll phone him later.
In fact, my late husband disliked anything even remotely to do with chickens.
Last post. Feels like it too.
Thanks, Barney.
Evening Post, sir. Put the other letters on the table, Parker, thank you. Yes, sir. My dear, my very dear Roger.
There is one thing a murderer may rely on for protection, that the account of every witness will be radically different from the account of every other, even though all were present on the same occasion.
I trust you enjoyed your dinner, Dr. Shepherd.
Indeed I did. Thank you, Parker. Oh, I'll just go and say goodnight to the ladies.
Yes, sir.
Good night, ladies.
Oh, do you have to go, Doctor?
Unfortunately, I do. Good night. And once again, congratulations, Flora.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Shepherd. Good night.
Frequent of late that it is impossible for me to exceed your request. As you'll appreciate, I get many such requests, and
Mr. Ackroyd says he doesn't want to be disturbed tonight.
Oh, very well, Miss Flora.
Well, it didn't sound like a very interesting evening, I must say. Didn't you hear anything about Ralph, even?
Well, yes. I heard he got officially engaged to Flora at last.
Then what was that I heard him saying to her this afternoon at the White Hart?
Who can say, my dear?
Oh, no. Why do people always choose bedtime to get ill?
Not Shepherd. What? What? Yeah, I'll come at once.
What is it? What is it, James?
It's Parker from Fernley. They've just found Roger Ackroyd murdered.
Yes, sir.
Where is he?
Beg pardon, sir.
Have you called the police?
The police, sir?
What's the matter with you, Parker? If your master has been found murdered.
Murdered, sir?
Didn't you telephone me 5 minutes ago and tell me Mr. Ackroyd had been found murdered?
No, indeed, sir. I wouldn't dream.
Do you mean to say it's all a hoax? Oh, well, thank God. Though I should like to strangle whoever the joker is.
I can just check if you like, sir, see if everything's all right.
No, there's no point in that.
Let me just go and see, sir.
Where's everybody else?
The ladies have gone to bed, sir. I believe Mr. Raymond is still up. Seems to be locked.
Perhaps he's gone up to bed.
I've never known him to lock this door before. Key's in the lock on the other side.
Ackroyd! Ackroyd!
He may have fallen asleep.
I'm sorry, Parker.
Dr. Shepherd, sir!
Out of the way! No, the fewer people disturb this room, the better. Ring the police station. Okay.
away. Mr. Ackroyd's been murdered. He's dead. Yes, Bobby. What are you doing here? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Poirot. You've got to come in. I'm phoning the police. What is that? Mr. Ackroyd's been killed today. Murdered. Oh, Poirot, he's gone. Nobody's been in there. What do you think? For intelligent life. That is my life. Waiting for something to respond to me. But the answer is only miles, not light years away. The new Toyota Adventure with satellite navigation and a responsive VDPI engine. So, if it's out there, what am I doing here? The new Toyota Adventure.
It's gotta go at Textile World. You gotta go to get great deals at the year-end clear-out. Save up to half price.
I'm Arnold Clark, and I'm having a real sale on over 3,000 new and used cars. That is why everyone is making tracks for the real sale.
Mum called this number for a tiny sale brochure.
Huge savings in their sale.
Will be tried out brilliant PCs in a tiny showroom.
Huge savings?
With printers, scanners, and bags of software.
We saved hundreds.
I chose this PC with this wicked 3-in-1 digital camera.
Saved hundreds.
It takes movies and video emails and photos. And we saved...
Feel good about your PC.
hundreds in the tiny sale.
You've only got until 7:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve for your best chance to be a National Lottery millionaire. Go on! Play the Millionaire Maker!
While you get on with Christmas, Transco are quietly working away piping gas to 20 million homes, as we do all day and every day. So if you smell gas, call Transco.
While other stores have sales, B&Q have got low prices all the time. This dehumidifier gets rid of condensation and it's only £99. We've got low prices permanently.
It's showtime! At Land of Leather's £50 million knockout sale. Knockout savings on thousands of sofas and suites. This sofa weighs in at under £300.
Only $299.
These sofas, only $599 the pair.
Wicked combination.
These are $999 the pair. And get this matching luxury recliner free.
I'm knocked out.
It's Land of Leather's £50 million knockout sale.
Hurry, you know what I mean?
At stores right across Scotland.
For the perfect start to the new year, come to Carland. Right now, you'll find an incredibly low interest rate of just 4.9% fixed and 10.9% APR, which means you can drive away in this R-Edge Mondeo for just $5,495 or £25 a week. Plus, you can use your old car as a full deposit. There's a massive choice of all your favourite makes and models at Carland Glasgow. We're easy to find at the end of the M74, just minutes from the M8, open 7 days till late.
Follow a traditional recipe, using the best ingredients to create the incomparable. Werther's Original.
Judith Keppel changed her life by answering 15 questions.
You just won £1 million!
In an exclusive interview, she reveals how she did it.
An opportunity for anybody. And I don't think there's going to be a higher moment in my life.
Judith Keppel, Millionaire. Hogmanay at 8.
Our local police are a constant source of harmless amusement. A year ago, they could not even see that the death of Ashley Ferrars was murder. This time, they would probably claim that Ackroyd committed suicide.
Ackroyd was in such a strange mood all day. Mrs. Ferrars dying hit him badly.
Good evening, gentlemen. Has this been moved at all?
I ascertained that life was extinct, nothing more.
Who found the body?
The butler, Parker, and myself. I'd been here to dinner, but I was back at home when I got a telephone call from Parker telling me Mr. Ackroyd had been murdered.
So Parker had already found the body?
No, sir. I didn't make any phone calls, sir.
Wait a minute. Dr. Shepherd says...
I didn't phone, sir. I swear I didn't.
Did it sound like Parker's voice on the telephone?
I can't say I noticed. I took it for granted, you see.
How odd. Anyway, you came in here.
Broke the door down. It was locked from the inside.
Did anyone check the window? Well, this is the way the motor came in all right and went out. Look, footprint.
Made by a boot with a rubber sole, sir.
When was Mr. Ackroyd last seen alive?
I left at 9 o'clock. He was certainly alive then.
He was alive at 9:30. I heard him talking in the study.
Who was he talking to?
Don't know. At the time, I assumed it was Dr. Shepherd. But in fact, you'd already left.
Did you ever hear any of the conversation?
Just a fragment. Mr. Ackroyd said something like, "The calls on my purse have been so frequent of late that it is impossible for me to accede to your request." I didn't hear any more.
But a demand for money may be important.
If you'll excuse me, Inspector Davis. Miss Flora saw him after 9:30. I saw her leave the study at 10:10.
Send someone to get her, will you?
Yes, sir.
I don't know you, sir. What's your name?
This is Hercule Poirot, Inspector. The famous detective.
Oh, yes? What are you doing here?
Monsieur Ackroyd was a friend of mine, Inspector. I was with him earlier this evening.
When was the last time you saw Mr. Ackroyd alive?
We said goodbye at 7:36. I then went home.
What are you doing here now?
Monsieur Ackroyd was in a mood of great upset. I was worried about him, and I made my return.
Thank you, sir.
I have to say this. Mr. Ralph Peyton is down here from London. He came to the factory to see Mr. Ackroyd. They had words.
What about?
I don't really know. Something to do with Mr. Ackroyd's will, I think.
Oh, this is awful. It can't be true.
Miss Ackroyd, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask a few questions. Parker says he saw you coming out of your uncle's study at 10:10. Is that right?
Do you think I am a murderer?
Mademoiselle, if you please, to sit. Please.
We're just trying to place everyone in the house. Find out what they've seen or heard.
All right. Yes, I did go in to say goodnight to Uncle Roger.
At 10:10.
I don't know. Yes, about then.
Was he alone?
Yes.
Did you notice if the window was open or shut?
I don't know. I didn't look. Well, the curtains were drawn anyway. Oh, God.
prefer to walk. From now on, the deception began in earnest. You could scarcely move for people protesting how innocent they were or pointing the finger of guilt at someone else. There was so much smoke, you could hardly see across the high street. Such larks.
Oh, hello, Flora.
I came to see Mr. Poirot. Is he in?
Well, he's terribly upset, actually. My brother's with him now. We both came round.
Who would do a thing like that to such a man, James?
Well, it's difficult to say.
The question was a rhetorical one, mon ami.
It's Flora. Oh, Mr. Poirot, I'm sorry to burst in on you.
Mademoiselle?
But the police think that Ralph murdered my uncle. He didn't do it, Mr. Poirot. He really didn't.
I cannot help you, mademoiselle.
But you're a detective.
Your uncle was Monsieur Poirot's friend, Flora.
In any case, mademoiselle, I am now retired. I work no longer.
I'll pay you. I'll find the money somehow.
It's not a question of money.
Come on, old girl.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Where's Ralph now?
I don't know. Not exactly. Uncle Roger told me yesterday he was staying at the White Hart. But he's not there now. They told me he left in the middle of the night. But he's left all his things behind.
I see.
No, you don't see. Ralph may have done some foolish things in the past. But he wouldn't murder anyone.
Mademoiselle, I cannot help you as you wish.
But
I will go to the Inspector Davis and speak on your behalf. That may do some good.
Between ourselves, Chief Inspector, my money's on Ralph Peyton, the stepson. He's...
That foreign gentleman to see you, Inspector.
I don't want to be disturbed.
I will take only 5 minutes of your time, Inspector.
I know that voice.
Chief Inspector Jack?
I knew the name King's whatchamacallit sounded familiar.
Oh, my dear friend!
Poirot. There was I thinking you'd retired, and I come down here and find you mixed up in murders and all sorts.
No, Chief Inspector. I am not, as you say, all mixed up. No, Monsieur Roger Ackroyd was my very old friend, and that is all.
Yeah, well, you're going to help us out, though, aren't you?
Oh, God.
Help me talk to all these cabbage bashers.
No. Chief Inspector, I have been idle for too long.
Oh, come on, Poirot. Be like old times.
Very well. But only on the outskirts. Inspector Davis, Mademoiselle Ackroyd tells me you suspect most strongly Ralph Peyton.
It's either him or the butler. What have we got against Peyton? Well, first, he left the White Hart last night and hasn't been seen since. Secondly, it said he's in serious financial difficulties and will probably profit from the will. And thirdly, it said he had a row with a victim.
Sounds pretty fruity.
Perhaps a little too fruity, mon ami.
We'll see about that. Got here a pair of shoes which we got from the White Hart. I'm going to compare them to the footmarks on the windowsill.
Has anyone seen any suspicious strangers hanging around here? Any strangers calling on Mr. Ackroyd at all over the last week or so?
Yes, there was. That young man called himself a salesman on Wednesday.
He was in with Mr. Ackroyd a good hour.
No. That was a perfectly innocent salesman. He came to the factory trying to sell dictaphones, and Mr. Ackroyd had him come here to demonstrate. Mr. Tufnell, his name was.
Yes, all right. Now, let's get back to the events of last night.
There was something, though, last night, Chief Inspector.
Yeah?
I was on the terrace outside the sitting room, smoking at about 9:30, and I thought I saw a woman disappearing into the bushes near the summer house. Just a gleam of white, you know.
No idea who it was?
I'm not even sure. It could have been just a trick of the moonlight, you know.
Yes, all right, thank you. Now, when you, Dr. Shepherd, and you, Parker, break the door down, you are confronted by the sight of Mr. Ackroyd dead in this chair.
Quiet.
If I may, Chief Inspector.
Of course.
Thank you. Is this room exactly as it was then?
The curtains were drawn, sir. And the electric light was on.
Bon. Anything else?
Yes, that chair was drawn out a little more.
Bon. Show me. Voilà ce qui est curieux. How say you, Chief Inspector? No one would sit in a chair in such a position, I fancy.
Well, it's not a place for it to be, all right, but I can't see that it's very important.
No, it is completely unimportant. That is why it is so interesting.
These shoes match the marks on the windowsill precisely.
Of course they do, Inspector. Of course they do. For the moment, Ralph Payton is the chief suspect. If Muddy Shoes could convict, they'd have him swinging from the gallows by the morning. There is only one problem. The spineless Lothario is nowhere to be found.
I hope Mr. Ackroyd build this house, you know. Design it and everything. These modern houses, you see, generally they don't have the facilities for staff like proper houses. Mr. Ackroyd, he wanted it just so.
He was a good employer, no?
He could be short with you, could Mr. Ackroyd, but he was always fair. We shan't see his like again.
No, indeed. Tell me, Monsieur Parker, what is your opinion of the secretary, Monsieur Raymond?
He's a bit of a stick, to tell the truth, Mr. Poirot, but he's all right.
It's just that he told to Inspector Davis last night that he overheard Monsieur Ackroyd talking in his study at 9:30. I am not disposed to believe him.
I don't know about that, sir. I don't think Mr. Raymond's the type to tell an untruth. But there is something, I mean, I haven't mentioned it before, but it's been nagging away at the back of my mind like.
It was usually kept in the display case in the sitting room.
I'm sure it was in there just before dinner last night.
Excuse me, Chief Inspector. Monsieur Parker would like to show to us something. Monsieur Parker?
It's these. They came in the Evening Post last night.
So what?
Well, there were 5 when I brought them in.
Now there are 4?
I noticed particularly because these are all business sort of letters, and there was one more, personal one, handwritten, dark blue envelope, quite distinctive.
Perhaps Mr. Ackroyd put it in his pocket.
Was any such letter discovered on the body, Inspector?
No.
So this will be the French windows into the sitting room.
Yes, Chief Inspector, inside of which was the case that contained the murderous weapon conveniently within reach. And along here, no other window overlooks the terrace till we come to the study of Monsieur Roger Ackroyd.
Chief Inspector, I've just had a call from the GPO. They've traced that telephone call that Dr. Shepherd got. It was logged at 10:15 last night from a public telephone box at King's Abbot railway station. And at 10:23 the night mail leaves for Liverpool.
Why should the murderer telephone at all? There seems no rhyme nor reason to it.
Oh, there was a reason, Chief Inspector, of that you can be sure. And when we know it, we will know everything.
Everyone tells me it's been fine and dry here for a fortnight. So how did those muddy footprints get on the windowsill?
Oh, that is easy, Chief Inspector. See you there? The gardener has left dripping the tap.
Oh, yeah. Ah, there's the same footprint again.
You see also there the footprint of the lady?
Well, there's plenty of women in the house.
Come, Chief Inspector. Let us investigate together the summer house.
My Emily wanted one of these, but it didn't seem quite right in Isleworth. What you got, Poirot? Oh, it's a bit of cloth from a handkerchief or something.
Perhaps. Remember this, Chief Inspector. The good laundry, it does not starch the handkerchief.
The organization, it is in disorder today? Because of Mr. Ackroyd's absence? Hardly. Right, his guiding hand, it is not missed. Mr. Ackroyd's guiding hand is more likely to hold things up than... I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But the truth is, I handled all the day-to-day running of the business. Not that I got any thanks for it.
Sundry creditors, £403, 7 shillings and 4 pence.
Mr. Hammond is Mr. Ackroyd's personal lawyer, as well as acting for the company.
I'm Detective Chief Inspector Japp of Scotland Yard, and this is Hercule Poirot.
Private detective.
We need to know what's in Mr. Ackroyd's will.
I see. But I shall be coming down to the house later on anyway for the reading. So much to do. Oh, so much to do whenever...
Yes, what's in the will?
Well, the will consists of a series of legacies and bequests.
Such as?
Well, there's £500 through his secretary, Mr. Geoffrey Raymond. And then Mrs. Vera Ackroyd receives the income from £10,000 worth of shares during her lifetime, while her daughter, Flora Ackroyd, inherits £20,000 outright.
And the majority of the estate?
The residue, including Fernley Park and the shares in Ackroyd Chemicals, to his adopted son, Mr. Ralph Peyton.
Tell me, the estate of Monsieur Roger Ackroyd, it was very large?
Oh, yes, indeed. Mr. Peyton will be a very wealthy young man.
Merci. Tell me, Chief Inspector, the station master at King's Abbot, was he of any help?
Not a lot, I'm afraid. Nobody remembers anybody using the phone box. But about that time, they got the London train coming in on one platform and the Liverpool train on the other, so...
Was there anyone seen to board these trains?
Well, the porter remembers a young man getting on the train to Liverpool. He thinks. Mind you.
Voila.
She looks pretty browned off.
Why? Let us go and cheer her up, Chief Inspector. Bonjour, Mademoiselle Ackroyd.
Oh, you startled me.
There's something I've been meaning to ask you, Miss Ackroyd. Did you go anywhere near the summer house on the night of the murder?
Summer house? No.
Only someone, a lady, was seen in its vicinity.
Well, it wasn't me.
This would have been about 9:30.
Thank you, mademoiselle. You have been most helpful.
I've got to get back to the house anyway.
I was just getting started with her.
Very likely. Is she out of sight, Chief Inspector?
Yeah. What are you doing, Poirot? Poirot?
Always. One must keep the eyes on the alert, mon ami. One little glint in the sunlight. Voila.
There's a wedding ring.
Yes, indeed.
Woman's probably, by the size of it. very likely. Do you think this will stain? Funny place to find a wedding ring. Oh, hang on. There's an inscription. From R. March the 13th. Do we know who R might be? No. Ah, Mr. Raymond.
Not now, Chief Inspector.
What's going on, Parker?
I don't rightly know, sir. Something's gone missing.
I have never thought the staff at Fernley Park were quite trustworthy.
What happens, madame?
Some money is missing.
Stolen?
We don't know that.
£40, Monsieur Poirot, from poor Roger's bedroom.
Mr. Hammond is down from London to read the will. He asked Raymond if there was cash in the house. It has to be included in the estate, of course. When Raymond went to get it from Mr. Ackroyd's bedroom, it was gone.
I have never thought the staff here were trustworthy.
Come, Mrs. Ackroyd.
Right, who's the current suspect?
The parlour maid, Ursula. She was given her notice yesterday. Doubtless she thought she'd leave with a little unearned bonus.
You are Ursula Bourne?
Yes, sir.
I understand you're leaving.
Yes.
Why is that?
I disarranged some papers on Mr. Ackroyd's desk. He was very angry about it and said I had better leave.
Let me tell you, my girl, a considerable amount of money, £40, is missing from this drawer.
Well, if you think I took it and that is why Mr. Ackroyd dismissed me, well, then you're wrong.
Well, it seems...
If you please, Inspector. Mademoiselle Ursula, it was yesterday afternoon that Monsieur Roger Ackroyd dismissed you, was it not? How long did it last, this interview?
The interview?
The interview between you and Monsieur Ackroyd in the study. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour?
Something like that.
Half an hour?
Well, not longer, certainly.
Merci, mademoiselle.
Not one flipping penny. 6 years I worked for that bastard. Not one flipping penny.
Well, that's what they're like, isn't it?
Well, who do you think's got the last laugh? Who knows all the little family secrets, eh?
Plenty of room. Come on. Come on, you bastard. Plenty of room. At Scottish Power, you'll find our lowest price ever on this Indesit 1000 spin speed washing machine for only £179.98.
Knockout value from Scottish Power.
It doesn't matter how good the machine is. Put the wrong thing in and it just won't perform as well as it might. It's the same with PCs. If you've just got a new PC, make sure you get the most out of the internet. Like this brand new version of AOL, the best yet and even easier to use.
Try it for yourself for absolutely nothing. AOL's call charge free 50-hour trial offer.
Try it now.
Call 0800 376 4444.
You've only got until 7:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve for your best chance to be a National Lottery millionaire. Go on! Pay the millionaire maker!
advanced Alberto VO5 shampoo and conditioner makes combing easy. Tangled hair? Advanced VO5 has the solution.
That's up to 37% off the classic collection of P&O Cruises and Princess Cruises, if you book early at Llanbolly.
Nick, didn't expect you back for ages. I heard you were dying of flu.
I was. More to the point, what are you doing with this?
Well, pal, with you not around, the merger was going to go down a pan, wasn't it?
Actually, pow, it wasn't. It's sorted. I spoke to them yesterday. They're signing today.
But you were ill. How come?
Lemsip Max Strength. This sorts the men from the boys.
Lemsip Max Strength. Hard-working medicine because life doesn't stop.
Well, other stores have sales. B&Q has low prices all the time, like this performance power pressure washer for only £49. We've got low prices permanently.
What's better than sale prices? This Kissity Bendix fridge freezer or this Indesit 1400 spin speed washing machine. Beating sale prices. That's Comet Sense.
Fly EasyJet direct Edinburgh to Amsterdam from only £27.50. Book now, easyjet.com.
The First for Furniture massive sale is on now with every single price slashed and many half-price bargains. Buy this 3-seater leather settee and get this 2-seater free. There's a superb selection of dining sets and wall units with up to 50% off. Relax with a half-price bed and choose from a stunning selection of bedroom furniture. All this with interest-free credit available. Be quick. Great sales like this can't last forever. First for Furniture, Queen's Drive Retail Park, Kilmarnock.
I'm Arnold Clark, and I'm having a real sale on over 3,000 new and used cars. That is why everyone is making tracks to the real sale.
If you've ever been a victim of petty crime, here's the chance to fight back.
We offer a rare glimpse of criminals in action.
Our surveillance team set the camera and lie in wait. You identify the criminals who make our lives a misery. It's a crime show with a difference. Rat Trap, Tuesday at 10.
First, Roger Ackroyd brutally stabbed in his study. Now his manservant Parker, deliberately run down by a motor car. Has the killer no mercy? No conception of the difficulty of finding good servants? Our dud detectives continue to run around in circles.
Why would anyone want to kill the butler?
Perhaps he was going to reveal to us something. But tell me, Chief Inspector, what did you think of the story told to us by the parlour maid?
What story?
The story of her dismissal. To dismiss a servant, does it take half an hour?
Well, that was in the afternoon, wasn't it? That can't have anything to do with the murder.
I am not sure. Perhaps in time the scrap of cambric that I found will tell us.
You're doing what you always do, Poirot.
What is that, Chief Inspector?
Confusing me. Just when I think I'm getting a grip on a case.
Tell to me, Chief Inspector, what is your grip?
Well, you've got to be logical, you see, Poirot.
Oui, bien sûr.
All right. Now, what have we got? The last person to see Roger Ackroyd alive was Dr. Shepherd, who left him at 9 o'clock.
No, you forget Mademoiselle Flora Ackroyd, who went in to say goodnight to him at 10 minutes after 10.
Oh.
Do not disquiet yourself, Chief Inspector. I do not believe her. Please, do continue.
Oh, but why would she? Anyway, then Raymond heard Ackroyd talking to somebody at 9:30. Ralph Payton disappeared from his lodgings on the night of the murder, and nobody's seen him since. The person Ackroyd was talking to was asking for money. Ralph Payton was always in financial trouble, and he's the chief beneficiary of the victim's will. Ralph Payton had a row with the victim,
Ralph Payton's footprints are all over the windowsill.
So who is the murderer, do you think, Chief Inspector?
Very amusing, Poirot. Look, if Payton were innocent, he'd come forward, wouldn't he?
Mais oui, that is a theory that. Certainly you had a little grassholes of a kind. But it leaves unaccounted a great deal.
What, for instance?
The chair that was moved.
Oh, not the chair again.
No, it was pulled out, it was pushed back. Perhaps the murderer was afraid that one day Monsieur Parker would realize of its significance.
I'm trying to deal in facts here, Poirot.
But the chair is a fact, mon ami. As are the telephone call, the wedding ring discarded, the 40 pounds missing, and the murder of Monsieur Parker.
Why, Hercules?
Madame Shepherd.
Isn't it terrible about poor Parker? Won't you introduce me to your friend?
Yes, of course, madame. The sister of Dr. Shepherd, Chief Inspector Japp of Scotland Yard.
I thought it must be. How exciting.
How did it?
Mind you, I don't think that Roger Ackroyd ever knew about Parker's drinking. Something for you two sleuths to think about, eh? Excuse me.
Madame.
Bye.
Blimey. Decidedly it is time for Poirot to act. Mademoiselle Ursula, rest here if you please. Doctor, asseyez-vous là.
Thank you.
To begin with, I make a special plea to you, mademoiselle.
To me?
Oui. If you know the whereabouts of Monsieur Ralph Payton, I beg of you most earnestly to persuade him to come forward.
Monsieur Poirot, I swear solemnly to you, I have no idea where Ralph is. I have neither seen him nor heard of him on the day of the murder or since.
Bien! That is that! Now you others, all of you, were friends and intimates of Monsieur Ralph Payton. If you know where the missing man he is hiding, speak out. I beg of you, speak out. Monsieur le Mesdames, I mean to arrive at the truth. I mean to know, and I shall know. In spite of you all.
Mr.
Poirot, Madame Poirot, Hercule Poirot.
Ah,
1,000 apologies, Madame, for calling on you like this.
not at all.
I have seen the references that you were good enough to provide for a former parlourmaid of yours, a Mademoiselle Ursula Bond.
Yes?
And it was just over a year ago since she left you, I understand.
Yes. Yes, it was. That's quite right.
So I was wondering if there was anything more you can tell me about her. For example, she comes from where? Her family?
I don't know at all.
I see. Then who was her employer before she came to you?
I really don't remember. Is it necessary to ask all these questions?
Oh, no. No, not at all, madame. Pardon. I did not think you would object to answering.
Taxi! The News Chronicle in Fleet Street, s'il vous plaît.
right, you can put your watch away.
You know how the lateness, it distresses me.
Mr. Hammond?
Good day to you, Chief Inspector. This is indeed a treat. So much choice, I'm staggered.
What did you discover at the apartment of Monsieur Peyton?
Absolutely nothing. A bed, a table, a chair. Nobody's been there for a week.
Did you get for me the list of nursing homes? Merci.
There's nothing I can eat here, Poirot. It's all macaroni this, raviolo that. Haven't they got any meat?
Spaghetti bolognese has meat.
I don't like spaghetti. Now then, Mr. Hammond, we're going to need your help. As well as acting for Mr. Roger Ackroyd, you were also Mrs. Dorothy Ferrar's solicitor, we understand?
That is correct. All her affairs pass through our hands.
You see, Monsieur Hammond, Monsieur Ackroyd believed that Madame Ferrars, she was being blackmailed. And it is possible that this blackmail and the murder of Roger Ackroyd, they might be connected.
Blackmail, eh?
You are surprised?
No. No, it explains a great many things. During the past year, Mrs. Ferrars sold certain securities, but the money was paid into her account and not reinvested. I've always imagined that the money was being paid to some woman who had a claim on the late Mr. Ferrars.
And what was the amount of this selling?
In all, I should say the sums involved totaled at least £20,000.
£20,000? I could retire tomorrow and go and live in the south of France.
No. You would not approve of the food, Chief Inspector.
Well, none of our merry band of suspects shows any sign of having come into that kind of money. Ah, look, Poirot, there's your old flat. Who lives there now?
No person. It is still mine.
No. Wait, I didn't know that. Well, let's go and have a look round.
No. In any case, I do not have my keys.
Yes, you do. I wondered why you wanted to walk this way. Come on.
Home sweet home, eh, Poirot? But it is full of ghosts.
Lively ones too, some of them.
You know, Chief Inspector, this visit to London, it disturbs me. This? Even worse.
You were never meant to be a country bumpkin, Poirot.
No, Chief Inspector. You must not say such things. The life in the country, it is good for me. I have the fresh air, I have my garden. The quiet.
You should never have retired. I said so at the time, if you remember.
One cannot postpone the inevitable forever, Chief Inspector. In this case, it is full of postponements.
Is it?
Oh, oui, bien sûr. Monsieur Roger Ackroyd and Madame Ferrars, they postponed the announcement of the betrothal. Monsieur Ralph Peyton and Mademoiselle Flora, the same.
Well, I don't see where that gets us.
We'll see. But one must permit oneself to muse. From our March the 13th. Perhaps Monsieur Roger Ackroyd and Madame Ferrars, they married in secret.
Why would they do that?
Or Ralph Peyton and Mademoiselle Flora, the same.
Well, that's more likely. But why keep it secret? Who else do we know with the initial R? What about Mr. Raymond?
Monsieur Raymond? No. I do not think that Monsieur Raymond is the marrying kind, Chief Inspector.
No. You see, we do keep coming back to Ralph Peyton. Of course, the ring might have nothing to do with the case. But I can't understand why he doesn't come forward.
Has it not occurred to you, Chief Inspector, that Monsieur Ralph Peyton, he could be dead?
Dead? No. Well, I hope not for Flora Ackroyd's sake, if nothing else. What did you mean the other day when you said you didn't believe she'd seen her uncle at 10:10?
Allons-y, Chief Inspector. We must catch the train. I have also the need to escape from these ghosts.
James, have you washed your hands?
Yes. I've only got 3 home roasts. These have all got 4.
Ah, yes, but you've got bigger ones.
Yeah, but I prefer the smaller ones.
I'll swap you this one for 2 of your big ones.
You
don't get 2 big ones for a little one.
Thank you. Yeah, but it is the crispiest.
It is the crispiest. Oh, for heaven's sake!
Chuck him a bit of that broccoli, that'll make it fairer.
You can't compare broccoli to a roast potato.
Depends how much broccoli.
McCain Home Roasts, all the joys of a Sunday, any day of the week.
There's a new kind of Nurofen, one you can take anywhere, without water, for effective relief at the site of pain. New Nurofen meltlets.
Are you sure you know what you're doing with that?
Of course, it's only a few wires.
Hello, is that Auto Audios?
Mrs. Campbell?
Yeah, he's been having a few problems.
It came with all the wrong connectors.
Let the step-by-step art course show you how to be an artist, from drawing basic outlines to simple shading techniques in easy-to-follow stages. Plus, get this superb art box free with issue 1. Issue by issue, build a complete set of art materials. The step-by-step art course brings out the artist in you.
Furniture, beds and carpets on sale now. Brighten up your winter at Vogue. Minimum of 25% off, first few days only.
Excludes floor coverings and accessories.
Reg Vardy have done it again. Every used car, regardless of make, model or age, for just £25 per week with up to 4 years 0% finance. Yes, you heard us right. Reg Vardy are proud to offer every used car from our huge range with an amazing deal. Simply pay your deposit, then just £25 per week with up to 4 years 0% finance whatever car you choose. Hurry, this offer is for a limited period only at a Reg Vardy dealership near you.
Red leather. Yellow leather.
Red leather.
Yellow leather. Red leather.
Red leather. Green leather. Scotland's biggest half-price leather sale at Thompson's Leather World, Braehead.
We'll drink a drink. Evening, lads. Nice to see you all again. The usual. Now then, how you doing? What can I get you?
Same again, please.
A couple of pints. Right away. It's a bit of a rough night, eh? Oh, you been needing a tray for that, love? Ah, well, a little drink never hurt anyone now, did it? Aye, certainly. Is that a bottle or a glass? So, boys, another round, eh?
Excuse me, did you tell me...
Regulars first, love. I'll be with you in a minute.
By now, the cracks were beginning to appear. There are, I am ashamed to say, certain darknesses of the heart of which even I was not aware. Who would have thought Miss Goody Two-Shoes Flora Ackroyd capable of such naughtiness?
Now, Mr. Poirot has made a certain suggestion to me, Miss Ackroyd. He suggests that you weren't in the study at all last Friday night, and that you didn't see Mr. Ackroyd to say goodnight to.
Parker saw me there.
No, mademoiselle. Monsieur Parker said that he saw you coming out.
You have no idea what my life has been like since we came here. Wanting things, scheming for them, lying and cheating. Running up bills and promising to pay. I hate myself when I think of it all. That's what brought us together, Ralph and I. I understood him because I'm the same underneath. We're not strong enough to stand alone, either of us. All right. I wasn't coming out of the study. I was in my uncle's room. I knew he always kept some cash in that drawer. I was on the stairs, coming down from Uncle Roger's bedroom, when I heard Parker crossing the hall. So, I pretended that I was leaving the study.
Parker, Mr. Ackroyd says he doesn't want to be disturbed.
Oh. Very well, Miss Flora.
Mademoiselle.
I took it all right! £40! I'm a common, vulgar little thief! Now you know!
Rule number 1 in King's Abbot. Never believe what anyone tells you. So what could the sleuths do but start again? Back they went to Dorothy Farrell's house for another rummage through her sad existence. He really was the cause of all this fuss.
Madame Farrell has been your patient for many years, James. Had you been to you recently discussed? She was a very sensitive person, you know. Not many people understood her. That's right. You did. She confided in me for limited extent. Madame Farrell, she wrote many letters? No, I don't think so. Her only relatives. Bonjour, madame. Good morning, Chief Inspector. What? Oh, good morning. Listen, the police have for some days been anxious to interview Mr. Ralph Payson, the adopted son of Mr. Roger Ackroyd, whose death occurred in suspicious circumstances last Friday. Mr. Payson has now been arrested in Liverpool, where he was on the point of embarking for America. Bon. Bon? What do you mean, bon? It's all rubbish. I've been on to Liverpool. They don't know anything about it. No, they would not want to know. It was me who persuaded the editor of that estimable newspaper to insert the item. Well, we'll see if you're right, Poirot. If your newspaper article has flushed anybody out of the woodwork. Can woodwork be flushed, Chief Inspector? You know what I mean. Well, if they can be flushed, then this will have flushed them. I'm sorry. Have you been waiting ages? It was at the 6s and 7s. It was Parker. Not here, and Ursula not being well. She's unwell? I say unwell. She just won't come out of her room. You can hear her crying away. Oh. Can we have a word, Miss Bourne? Mrs. Peyton? It is me, Hercule Poirot.
No point in pretending any more, is there? The paper says Ralph has been arrested.
The truth is what we need, Mama.
Ralph didn't do it.
In reality, I am inclined to agree with you, but the affair marches badly. Only the truth can save Mr. Peyton now. So first, tell to us why you make this masquerade as a parliament.
For a living. My father died 2 years ago, leaving nothing but debt. Debts and 5 daughters. My elder sister was already married to a Captain Poirot.
Well, I met your sister yesterday.
I wasn't going to be a lady parlourmaid. It was the real thing or nothing. And my sister would give me a reference.
So you got a job here?
Yes. Actually, I quite enjoyed the work. And I met Ralph. As soon as we met, we both felt the same. We wanted to get married.
On the 13th of March.
I thought I'd knock it further. How, where did you... Well, we got married, and then I came back here, and Ralph stayed in London looking for work. But then he decided that the only way to clear his debts was to ask Mr. Ackroyd for help.
Still without disclosing to him your marriage.
Yes. Mr. Ackroyd was furious, but he said he'd help if Ralph married Flora Ackroyd.
And he agreed?
Yes. But he did make the stipulation that it shouldn't be announced for a while. He didn't want me to hear about it.
I bet he didn't.
But then last Thursday, Mr. Ackroyd got impatient and said the engagement had to be announced that weekend. So Ralph had to tell me the mess he was in.
Quite a McCarthy old man. He cut me off with a stick.
I said I was going to see Mr. Ackroyd and tell him we were married. Ralph begged me not to, but what else was I to do? I was so furious with Ralph that on my way home I threw away my wedding ring. I regretted it almost as soon as I'd done it, but I thought Mr. Ackroyd might have been sympathetic, but he was awful. He said I'd tried to trap Ralph for his money.
Already married?
Anyway, I'd agreed to meet Ralph that evening in the summer house to tell him how he'd gone. I met him at 9:30 and that was awful.
You also told your secret.
I wonder if I had done that. Anyway, I haven't heard or seen Ralph since. And then I heard that Mr. Ackroyd had been murdered.
Well, tell us, Madame Peyton, what hour was it that you parted from your husband in the summer house?
You think I haven't gone over that again and again? I was with Ralph for 10 minutes, not longer. It was just 9:45 when I got back to the house.
Ah, there you are, Mr. Poirot. I was just trying to find you. There's a phone call for you.
For me?
Yes.
Poirot? Mr. Smith. That's what I was trying to do.
For the first time ever in Scotland, DFS gives you double discount. Stunning choice. Double discount? Double discount means double savings on a whole range of special offers. Tiny prices. Double discount, double discount. This stylish sofa's just $3.99. Massive savings. Double discount, double discount.
This leather sofa's only $4.99. And that's not all. DFS gives you 3 years free credit and nothing to pay for a whole year. It's on everything. That's today, including New Year's Day at DFS, Abbotsford, Retail Park, Paisley, and now open at New Craig Hall, Edinburgh.
Previously sale prices offered in the majority of our stores. See in-store tickets for details. It doesn't matter how good the machine is. Put the wrong thing in, and it just won't perform as well as it might. It's the same with PCs. If you're discussing new PCs, make sure you get the most out of the internet. Like this brand new version of AOL. The best yet and even easier to use.
Try it for yourself for absolutely nothing. AOL's call charge free 50-hour trial offer.
Try it now.
Call 0800 376 4444.
Imagine you bought something and got a lot more than you expected. For one payment of £10, Liberty Stuff gives you 4 hours internet access without any call charges every month for a whole year. Liberty Stuff, the internet liberated.
Whatever the time of year, if you smell gas, call Primary School.
What would it be like to be old?
You need to be an old couple.
Do old couples still hold hands?
Do they still snog?
Kiss when they come.
Do they still have the same appetite?
If you always have an appetite for life, you might want the help of one of Britain's largest pension providers, Norwich Union.
What will it be like to be old?
Together we're stronger. Norwich Union.
Buy one, get one free on selected Boots vitamins, minerals and supplements. Now available at most Boots stores.
It's the home-based sale, and there are hundreds of products at half price, like this laminate flooring at half price.
Where's it all going to go?
In my new shed.
Right now at the MFI sale, you can get up to an extra 20% off sale prices. Make it yours for less.
So now will come the biggest test. We have all been summoned to a powwow, but I'm sure the police are still in the dark. If we all hold our nerve, they won't get any more secrets out of us. But there is always a weak link, isn't there?
No, Caroline. I'm not going to pander to your mere inquisitiveness.
Oh, come on, James. Don't be a mean.
No, Caroline. Poirot said just those people he named.
Well, I'll just drive you up there then, that's all. If you won't mind. I don't have to come in. I don't see why we have to be at his beck and call.
Inspector, you are so kind. Please, to place it here. No. Voila. Come in, please, all of you. It is so good of you to come. Please, entrez. Make yourself comfortable. Monsieur Raymond, if you please, to remain.
Me too.
Oui.
What's the great idea? Some scientific machine? Do we have electrodes on our knees to register guilty knocking?
No, Monsieur Raymond. I am old-fashioned. I work only with my little. Quite happy. Please to sit. My dear good Dr. James, welcome to you. Please to sit. You know, of course, Chief Inspector Japp.
Good evening.
So, now let us begin. But first, I have an announcement to make. This young lady, Mademoiselle Ursula Bourne, is in reality Madame Ralph Peyton. Oh, yes. She married Ralph Peyton last March.
Married? How could you be? Shut up, Mother. You and Ralph kept your secret very well. I'm very glad for you.
Well, that's very kind. Ralph behaved so badly, especially to you.
He was in a corner and took the only way out. I should have probably done the same myself in his place.
Each person here had both the motive and the opportunity to kill Monsieur Roger Ackroyd, and because he knew too much, Monsieur Parker. Madame Ralph Peyton might well have hoped to clarify her own situation if the uncle of Mademoiselle Flora did not exert pressure on her to marry Ralph Peyton. Monsieur Raymond resented the unwillingness of Monsieur Roger Ackroyd to grant him more authority in the factory, and of course, Madame Ackroyd and Mademoiselle Flora both hoped to profit from the will of Monsieur Ackroyd.
I don't like this. I'd much prefer to go home.
You cannot, Madame, until you have heard what Poirot has to say. Please listen. Merci, Madame. The problem has always been one of time. We know that Monsieur Roger Ackroyd was alive at 9:30 because it was then that Monsieur Raymond overheard him talking. But with whom was he talking? Certainly it was not the Monsieur Ralph Peyton, whom we know was at that time in the summer house with his wife. So with whom? From the very beginning of this case, I have been troubled by one thing. The nature of those words spoken by Monsieur Roger Ackroyd and overheard by Monsieur Raymond. The calls on my purse have been so frequent of late that it is impossible for me to accede to your request. India, does nothing odd strike you about that?
Sounds more as if he's dictating a letter.
Exactement.
A dictaphone, is that what you think? It doesn't change anything. Mr. Ackroyd was alive at 9:30 since he was speaking into his dictaphone.
But always we come back to Monsieur Ralph Peyton. As I have said, we know that he was in the summer house with Madame Peyton, but then suddenly, poof, he disappeared. Where? He has fled the country, perhaps? Or perhaps he has become the third victim of our murderer.
No.
Or perhaps someone is helping him to conceal himself from the police. But who and where? A hotel? No. Far too public. A boarding house? No, certainly the same. I have it. The private nursing home. Chief Inspector Japp made inquiries and discovered that there were in the area 2 nursing homes. And at one of them there had been admitted early on Saturday morning a certain Mr. Smith.
But Ralph would never run away.
We can ask Mr. Smith himself. But I ask myself, I wonder who it is who gave authority to the nursing home for the admission of Monsieur Ralph Peyton.
Poirot. Mea culpa. As soon as I heard that Ralph was back in King's Abbot and staying at the White Hart, I knew something must be wrong. I went to see him that afternoon. Eventually, he told me about his marriage and the hole he was in. There didn't seem to be anything I could do to help at the time, but that night, when the murder was discovered, I knew that suspicion would fall on him. Or if not on him, on the girl he loved. And the thought of his possibly having to give evidence that might incriminate his wife.
My dear James, have I not told you 36 times? It is impossible to conceal anything from Hercule Poirot. I know precisely who murdered Monsieur Roger Ackroyd and poor Monsieur Parker, and how it was done. And this tells to me all.
What is it?
It is a wireless message from a steamer on her way to the United States. And tomorrow, the good Chief Inspector Jacques will make his arrest.
This year, the Lloyd's TSB Foundation for Scotland invested over £6 million in the community, providing support that would otherwise be missing. Lloyd's TSB Foundation for Scotland. For more information, call us.
It's the countdown to New Year, so if you're determined to stop smoking, ask your pharmacist to show you this new patch. CQ Clear, the clear choice.
If you haven't sent back your tax return, get in shape. Complete it yourself or send it to your tax advisor now.
At last, a collection of extremely detailed and realistic hand-painted lead soldiers from the First and Second World Wars. The Lead Soldier Collection, in collaboration with Osprey. The first part worked with a British Commando for £2.50.
The silly-shaped quadra action follows the contours of the face. Slots and holes technology removes short and long hair, and it rinses clean underwater.
Mix and match 3 for 2 on facial skincare. Choose any 3 from over 600 products and get the cheapest free. Now available at Boots.
Last year being Chew, 9 litres of Crown White Emulsion was $10.98. Now it's only $9.99. We're driving down the cost of DIY to bring you low prices permanently.
For the first time ever in Scotland, DFS give you double discount. Stunning choice. Double discount. Double discount means double savings on a whole range of special offers. Tiny prices. Double discount. This sofa's just $449 with removable and washable plain covers. Massive savings. Double discount. Double discount. This leather sofa's only $549. And that's not all. DFS give you 3 years free credit and nothing to pay for a whole year. It's on everything. That's today, including New Year's Day at DFS, Abbotsford Retail Park, Paisley, and now open at New Craig Hall, Edinburgh.
Previous and sale prices offered in the majority of our stores. See in-store tickets for details.
Magnet can help you turn a space into a place for less, because our half-price sale is now on with an extra 10% off sale prices for a limited period only. It's the new Clear Patch from Nicotine CQ. With your willpower, it's proven to double your chances of quitting smoking successfully. CQ Clear, the clear choice.
Poirot. If you really know who committed this murder.
Both of the murders, Chief Inspector. Yes, I do.
Well, who is it? Can you tell us?
Poirot shall not make things easy for you. You, Chief Inspector, with your career of detection, both long and distinguished, you have your theories, I know, and you, my dear James. Maybe you have been involved in the case from the beginning, n'est-ce pas? You know intimately all of the people involved, as only the good country doctor can. But before I reveal my secret, you must both expound your theories to me. And let us commence with you, James.
Me? Oh, no. I can't show myself up in front of the professionals.
I got so fed up with waiting in the car. Are you going to be much longer, James?
No, maybe I ought to call it a day.
No, my dear James. Madame, your brother was just going to tell us his theories about the murderer. Please, do come and sit.
Yes.
Merci. So, James, tell us, what sort of man or woman are we looking for?
Woman? Well, I hardly think it could be a woman.
And this man, was he also, do you think, the blackmailer?
Oh, I think he probably had some sort of financial arrangement with Mrs. Ferrers, yes. Somehow, certainly, he became aware of the true cause of Ashley Ferrers' death. He could even be a detective.
But perhaps as a doctor, you would have been also situated most ideally, n'est-ce pas?
Oh, ideally. But the important moment in this case is not the murder of Ashley Ferrers, but the suicide of his widow. Her motives remain unclear, but for whatever reason, she decided to end her life. Now, this must have placed our murderer in something of a quandary. He knew about her rather distasteful affair with Roger Ackroyd. His difficulty was in knowing whether, before she died, she had confided in him the identity of the man with whom she had the financial arrangement.
You mean the blackmailer?
This was hardly some common blackmailer, Chief Inspector. He probably saw Roger Ackroyd somewhere about this time, and something in Ackroyd's manner made him wonder. And in that moment, he decided he could not take a chance. He was certainly capable of constructing some sort of device to turn a dictaphone on and off at any time he chose. I don't imagine he left the choice of weapon as much to chance as it would appear. I believe he had a weapon with him already. When it occurred to him that the dagger, which was actually on display at the scene of the crime, would cast the net of suspicion even wider. He was all ready to perform the killing when he had confirmation of his deepest fear. Mrs. Ferrers had indeed confided in Ackroyd, but not in person. She had written him a letter, and Ackroyd opened that letter in his presence and started to read it.
My dear, my very dear Roger, I would not tell you the name this afternoon, but I propose to write it to you now. I'm sorry, but I must read this on my own.
At least tell me the name of the man.
No, I must read it on my own.
Very well.
And in that letter, Madame Ferrers had named the blackmailer, had she not?
I've been reading this book I found in the car, James.
It wasn't blackmail.
Don't say any more, James.
Oh, come now, James. The man had bled Madame Ferrers' wife.
Dorothy Ferrers.
was an adulterous, murdering bitch. She lorded it over us. All the money she had, she never worked for it, nor did her drunk of a husband before her. They were idle, useless parasites. No! They didn't know what it was like scrimping and saving year after year, never able to afford a holiday. On calls day and night to every idiot with a bilious attack for miles around. You've no right to stand in judgment on me. Blackmail, you call it blackmail? The law wouldn't punish her, would they? So I did. Well, there you are. I've done your work for you. Sorry, Caro. Killing Ackroyd was easy. The knife was sharp, and I knew just where to strike. And for the rest, I simply had to follow my plan. First thing to do was make sure everyone remembered me leaving the house. I drove away, but parked the car a little way down the drive. Then I had to make it look as if Ralph Peyton had entered through the window. He was a pathetic, profligate fellow. I knew Ackroyd had bought a dictaphone and had been using it. Now I was going to use it to arrange for Ackroyd to speak from the grave. And then the business of the chair, which so intrigued you all. Peyton's muddy shoe outside when I entered through the window. Now, as I made my escape, I was able to use it to make a footprint on the sill.
And then, of course, the dictaphone did its work.
I'm greatly impressed by your persistence and determination. However, I regret to say that the calls I've heard have been so frequent of late that...
Which convinces us that Monsieur Roger Ackroyd was alive at 9:30, by which time you were safely back at home, awaiting the telephone call from the patient whom you had persuaded to take part in what you had told him was a practical joke.
Yes, you did well there, Poirot. I was quite surprised when you showed us your telegram from the ocean liner. Well done.
Thank you.
I needed the excuse of his phone call, you see, to ensure that I was first on the scene when the murder was discovered.
Please, sir. What's the matter with you, Parker? Your master has been murdered. Murdered, sir?
No, the fewer people disturb this room, the better. I carefully calculated the position of the chair so that the dictaphone would be hidden from anyone standing in the doorway. Ring the police station. When I'd sent Parker to telephone for the police, I had ample time to remove my contrivance and put the chair back in its accustomed place. Finally, I had to tell Ralph Peyton of his uncle's murder, persuade him that he was in danger, and get him to accompany me to the nursing home.
Why did you kill Parker?
Parker was too observant. He remembered that he'd brought in 5 letters, not 4, and that one of them was handwritten on dark blue paper. He knew he hadn't moved the chair. How long would it be before he realized I had? No. I couldn't take that chance.
Jim, your journal.
Shepherd, I'm arresting you for the murder of Roger Ackroyd.
Of course you are, Chief Inspector.
Gentlemen, this is foolish.
Don't move, either of you.
Are you all right, Chief Inspector?
Come on, Poirot. Get back, Poirot! James, no! Don't make me then!
Plenty of time for heroics when he runs out of ammo.
That's fine. One more to go.
For the sake of the sister of Dr. Shepherd, the true stories of these murders most dreadful must for the moment remain a secret. A last favor, if you will, to a man I once looked on as a friend. I thought I could escape the wickedness of the city by moving to the country. The fields that are green, the singing of the birds, the faces smiling and friendly. The fields that are green are the secret burial places of the victims of murders most hideous. The birds sing only briefly before some idiot in tweeds shoots them. And the faces all smiling and friendly. What do they conceal?
Celebrate New Year's Day with Scottish. Kick Kicking off with Family Fortunes at 6:30. At 7 we drop in on Emmerdale, and at 7:30 it's Coronation Street. Then
join me for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Couples, New Year's Day at 8.
Then at 9 our movie premiere, Waking Ned, wraps up a New Year's Day to remember.
I don't even know your name.
Maybe I'm a banker who's completely obsessed. Got a little something that's bound to impress. This current account pays the higher amount of extraordinary interest. Now you probably think it's all too tough to change those debits and credits to be rearranged. Just give me the signal and without any fuss, you can leave the whole thing to us. Extra, extra, I know you want more. I'll give you something extra when you walk through my door. Extra, extra, though I cannot deny. Terms and conditions apply.
It's easy to change to the current account that pays an extraordinary 4% interest. Halifax, always giving you extra.
It's Christmas time, near and far. Anytime you'd like this far.
Get a 70-centilitre bottle of Grant vodka for $6.99. Buy a 6-pack of Walker's Crisps, get another 6-pack free. Get 12 500ml cans of Miller Pilsner for $6.99. And buy a 2-litre bottle of Spar Lemonade or Diet Lemonade and get another 2-litre bottle free. Extra value at Spar.
So the lad's in trouble. He's been arrested. What happens next?
Well, Jeremy could make a run for it.
That's a long shot, Davy.
Well, what about asking his mate to vouch for him?
Bad move. No, what he should do is call criminaldefencelawyers.com on 0800 38 999 39.
Anywhere in Scotland?
Aye, if you're in trouble anytime, anywhere.
Well played.
In trouble with the law? Call criminaldefencelawyers.com 0800 38 999 39.
Glow bar. You can't keep it to yourself.
Reg Vardy have done it again. Every used car, regardless of make, model or age, for just £25 per week with up to 4 years 0% finance. Yes, you heard us right. Reg Vardy are proud to offer every used car from our huge range with an amazing deal. Simply pay your deposit, then just £25 per week with up to 4 years 0% finance whatever car you choose. Hurry, this offer is for a limited period only at a Reg Vardy dealership near you.
At PC World, we've helped more people choose a new PC than any other store. That's why, come sale time, we've got the power to hammer down prices even more. Like a huge £400 off this 1 GHz Packard Bell Power Plus with an Intel Pentium 3 processor. Plus printer, scanner and DVD at the PC World sale, where you make the world of difference.
Where in the world? PC World.
You think talking to spirits is just a piece of nonsense. You wouldn't be so dismissive if you heard the voices that I hear day after day.
So how angry were you, Lenny? Angry enough to when he came back.
Death was due to electrocution. It was no domestic power supply that killed her.
Taggart, Saturday at 9. In one little town, there's been one big winner.
Ed Devine.
But as his numbers came up, his lights went out.
Do you happen to know an Ed Devine?
No, there's a new Ned in town.
You've won £6,620. How does that make you feel?
The television premiere of Waking Ned, New Year's Day at 9.
Now the latest national and international ITV news.
Good evening. Passengers on an overnight BA flight to Kenya have been talking about the moment their plane was, in the words of their pilot, seconds from disaster. A suicidal passenger had burst into the cockpit, grabbed the controls and put the 747 into a steep dive. Among the 400 on board, Jemima Khan and the singer Brian Ferry. Here's Helen Wright.
Tonight, the 380 passengers who boarded this British Airways 747 24 hours ago consider themselves lucky to be alive. Their flight came within 5 seconds of crashing after a deranged man forced his way into the cockpit, disengaged the autopilot and sent the plane plummeting 10,000 feet. The captain, William Hagan, was injured as he wrestled with the intruder, who was eventually overpowered by passengers and crew. These photographs taken by a passenger show that moment. Singer Brian Ferry, on the left here, was one of the first-class travellers who witnessed the man being restrained. Ferry said tonight he was very frightened. The crew then carried the 27-year-old Kenyan to the rear of the cabin, where he was strapped into a seat. The man, said to suffer a mental illness, was arrested when the plane touched down. Jemima Khan, her children, mother and brother were also on flight 2069. As the drama unfolded, they, like other passengers, feared for their lives. Zoe McNaughton from Kent says everyone thought it would crash.
You had no idea what was going to happen. The plane was it fell really quickly, and all our stuff went up in the air. People hit their heads on the ceiling. It really did feel like that was going to be it.
Until the captain told them the man had been seized.
The pilot came on and he was out of breath. He could barely talk. And he said, "I'm here to tell you that a madman entered the cockpit and tried to take control of the plane to crash it with the intent of committing suicide for himself and the entire plane." At that point, he was having trouble talking. He was very out of breath, and he stated that they had the man under control and that he thought everything was okay at that point.
BA has praised the actions of its pilots and launched an inquiry to see what can be learnt from this incident, though aviation experts recognise guaranteeing 100% security on every flight is almost impossible. Helen Wright, ITN.
Temperatures are falling again tonight to their lowest levels of the winter. In many places they stayed at 0 or below all day. Last night in Belfast and Hereford it was -13. Any kind of travel has again been difficult. With more, here's Paul Davis.
It's another night when police in many areas are advising motorists to stay at home. In some parts of Scotland there's been fresh snowfall and temperatures are expected to plummet to -15 degrees tonight. Northern Ireland has arguably experienced the worst conditions today, freezing fog and ice contributing to dozens of accidents. In London, icy roads were blamed for this accident when a bus crashed down an embankment in the Crystal Palace area. There were no passengers on board, but the driver had to be cut free by fire crews. With snow and ice causing problems from northern Scotland to Cornwall, the AA has reported its busiest day of the year, with more than 3,000 call-outs. And the weathermen say there's more of the same on the way.
Again, a severe frost across much of Britain tonight. Again, we expect temperatures down around -10, I think, in many places. Any roads that are still wet or covered in snow will just freeze over again.
The frozen conditions have caused even more delays on the rail network and have severely hit the weekend sporting programme. The West Ham players trained in the snow for a Premiership match that's still on, but many big games in England and Scotland have been postponed. Wolverhampton Wanderers are confident their First Division match against Stockport will go ahead, despite 5 inches of snow on the Molineux pitch. They're hailing a success for their undersoil heating, particularly as neighbouring Aston Villa's Premiership fixture is a casualty of the weather. Paul Davis, ITN.
A British charity worker has been killed in an ambush in the Central African country of Burundi. Charlotte Wilson was a VSO worker across the border in Rwanda. She was one of a group of 20 people shot dead by Hutu rebels after they were ordered from the bus they were travelling in. She was 27. And an Oxford University rower is believed to have died after his cruise boat was hit by a freak storm during training in Spain. The other 7 in the boat reached safety. Leo Blockley from Lancashire is still missing. Ed Perkins reports.
After a day on the River Ebro in northeastern Spain, rescue teams tonight postponed the search for 21-year-old Leo Blockley. It'll resume early tomorrow morning. The Oxford University lightweight rowing crew had been training here when their boat was overturned by a gust of wind. 8 of the 9-man crew were rescued within minutes, but it's thought Mr. Blockley was swept away in the swollen river after he tried to swim the 100 yards to shore. One of the launches accompanying the rowing boat also capsized. Its crew member managed to escape. The president of the local rowing club called today's accident a total disaster. He said, in 30 years we've never seen anything like it. Police teams will be joined tomorrow by divers from the Red Cross. A university rowing club spokesman said their thoughts tonight were with Leo Blockley's family. But a full 12 hours after the accident, hopes of finding the young student alive have almost certainly vanished. Ed Perkins, ITN.
The New Year's honours are out tomorrow, but one of the main announcements has already been made. American film director Steven Spielberg is to become an honorary knight. The Oscar-winning creator of E.T. and Jurassic Park, among others, got the award for his services to British filmmaking. But because he's American, he won't be able to call himself Sir. And that's it from all of us on the ITV News team. Good night.
Good evening. It's already frosty out there. Temperatures dropping like a stone as we go through the night, so a hard frost tonight. Still a scattering of snow showers around the coasts and hills, but lots of ice to watch out for on the roads wherever you are. So we're stuck with this cold weather through tonight, tomorrow, and into the start of New Year's Eve too. But then during New Year's Eve, we'll see a change coming in from the south and west. The Atlantic weather fronts eventually push the cold air out of the way. I'll have more on that in a second. As far as tonight's concerned, though, it's frosty for everywhere. I think you'll find tonight temperatures perhaps down to -12. Some snow showers around the coasts and hills, but most places dry. But watch out for freezing fog patches as well as the ice on the roads. And then tomorrow, pretty much like today, there won't be as many snow showers in the northeast tomorrow as you've had today. I think fewer more up in the north and west perhaps. But elsewhere, it's a dry day, some wintry sunshine, but some patches of rather stubborn freezing fog will hang on well into the day. And so, as you expect, it's going to be another cold one. Temperatures struggling to get above freezing. Some places will stay below freezing all day. And then that change comes along during New Year's Eve. For the start of the day, it will be another cold one, I think you'll find, but the weather front's eventually pushing the cold air out of the way as we go through New Year's Eve. So for the day, I think most places fine and dry, but then the rain coming into the southwest during the afternoon and evening. As it comes further north, the rain will turn to snow for a while, especially over the high ground from Wales, the Midlands northwards. And then as we go through the start of New Year's Day, you'll see that rain band moving further north, yet more snow, strong winds, perhaps even blizzard conditions for a while on the high ground before it eventually turns milder, but there is certainly a risk of disruption as we go into the New Year's period. Good night.
Power Gen. Power, whatever the weather.
Good evening. Once again, Scotland has been gripped by atrocious weather conditions that has made travelling a nightmare. Today has been the AA's busiest day as sub-zero temperatures freeze engines. While gritters managed to clear all main roads, rail workers have been fighting a losing battle to de-ice trains and thaw out points in the track, resulting in severe disruption to services. Christina McIntyre has the details.
All motorways and main A roads were cleared today, but side roads are still very treacherous and drivers are being advised not to travel unless they have to. On the rail network, delays and cancellations prevail, the sub-zero temperatures causing points and locomotives to freeze. The worst affected services are those south of Glasgow, including the Ayr and Gourock lines, which are down to just one train an hour. ScotRail's advice is check before you travel and only make essential journeys. All the airports are open and they've now processed the huge backlog of passengers who couldn't fly out yesterday. Meanwhile, as the plummeting temperatures continue, people are being urged to check elderly neighbours are all right.
Especially in weather like this, where it's difficult for them to get about, and just try and help make sure their paths are clear and things like that and see that they're okay.
Now the outlook for the next few days, continuing very cold over the weekend with sleet and snow showers on Saturday and Sunday. On Monday, temperatures will start to rise and a band of rain will move in from the southwest. So for drivers at least, getting about should be much easier come New Year's Day.
A Glasgow pilot who overpowered an hysterical passenger after he burst into the cockpit is tonight being hailed a hero. Captain William Hagan, seen here after the incident, was bitten by the man who seized the controls of the plane en route from Gatwick to Kenya. The 747, carrying 379 passengers, including Brian Ferry and Jemima Khan, plunged 10,000 feet while Captain Hagan and crew grappled with the intruder. A teenager is celebrating tonight after making legal history by successfully suing her father for her private school fees. 16-year-old Nicole Lavelle won £600 a month from her father Callum, a Dunblane businessman, in a landmark ruling at Stirling Sheriff Court. Mr Lavelle had claimed he couldn't afford the fees because of the cost of his divorce settlement. Two fishermen rescued off the Isle of Skye have been reliving the traumatic experience. Both were stranded overnight at sea in freezing conditions before being saved by some local trawlermen. Sharon Donaldson reports.
Donald MacDonald back at the shoreline where his ordeal first began.
It actually feels great to be able to be back on here, on this spot. I didn't think I would ever be able to be back here, no. But now I'm back, I feel great.
His short trip to net some shellfish for dinner became a 14-hour battle for survival after running into a whiteout snowstorm at sea.
I had the jacket with the hood on, which was good.